as our moderator for this session. John O'Brien is an American entrepreneur, and I really mean that. He's an author, philanthropist, and permanent thought leader of financial inclusion, economic empowerment, and financial dignity. His name as Atlanta Business Chronicles, the Power 100 Most Influential Atlantans in 2020. He, an American Bankers Magazine in 2016 as an Innovator of the Year, one of the Time Magazine's 50 Leaders for the Future. Mr. Bryan is the founder and chairman and CEO of Operation Hope, the largest nonprofit, best-in-class provider of financial literacy and economic empowerment services in the United States for youth, adults, and adults. He is also the chairman and CEO of Bryan Group Ventures and founder of principal for the Promise Homes Company, which is the largest minority-owned controlled owner of single-family rental homes in the United States. 5 former U.S. presidents have recognized his work, and he has served as an advisor to 3 sitting U.S. presidents from both political parties. He is responsible for the financial literacy becoming the policy of the U.S. federal government. He has received hundreds of awards, citations for his work, including Oprah Winfrey's Use Your Life Award and the John Sherman Award for Excellence in Financial Education from the U.S. Treasury. He's the author of best-selling books, Up From Nothing, The Memo, How the Poor Can Save Capitalism, and Love Leadership. I encourage you to read all of these books. I tell folks, even I quote in so many different meetings, how the poor can save capitalism for us all to understand it's bottom up, not trickle down. Folks, again, this is one of my closest friends, my little brother, my mentee, but a guy that I admire for his phenomenal leadership. And as I bring him up, I want to also thank AT&T, Delta Airlines, Georgia Pacific Foundation, HBCU Change, Mass Mutual, Perkins Foods, WebTech, Wells Fargo, and Xerox for being our corporate partners for making this happen for us here for the conference. Folks, I give to you our moderator at this time, John O'Brien.
Tommy does so much for so many people, and he just goes about it as if it's just normal. So necessarily, we don't really say much about it. It's like you expect it from Tommy. I know this. We have a serious business to do on this panel, and we're going to get to this business with these serious individuals. But can you do me a favor? Do the universe a favor. And give Tommy Doris the respect and admiration he so rightly deserves. If this is the challenge, that you have this incredible asset, HBCUs, that mean well, that have really played a historic role in the first 2 reconstructions, and should be at the forefront of the third, and is the gateway to corporations who want to recruit. What is the missing link? How does that tie into a company like Xerox, and why are you here? Because I hope you have an enlightened self-interest in being here, not just because you're a good guy. I want you to want our graduates and our community because they are untapped assets. Steve B., over to you.
Yeah, first of all, thank you. I think today's GDP growth, thank you, Mike. Growth of companies today, growth of economies today, come through data and information. And one of the things that I see today is that we need to do a better job with our universities understanding data, understanding the use of data. So you talk about what we need to do. Number one, think about each and every student you're reaching out to recruit. You have to personalize the message to them. You think about today in your own personal world, the consumer world and the enterprise are colliding magnificently every single day. When do you get marketed to a Netflix? When you're on and you're watching the show, the next 5 things come. And so our future students, and I do mean our future students, we have to be able to meet them where they are, which means that we need to understand technology, we need to understand data, and we need to be able to market to an individual of one. So that's the first message. You need to be able to reach your students and your potential students where they are in a world of consumerization that has a lot of information coming at them each and every day. But you want to be right there when they're getting ready to make their decision about which university to go to, number one. Number two, they don't know the value you bring. They don't understand the value that you bring to them and what you can do to change their lives. You know, we're all sitting here, we're tremendously blessed. Somewhere along the journey, we all had help. Somewhere along the journey, we all had somebody that cared. Our communities have to change the why in the road for these individuals. Because it's the why in the road between somebody caring, somebody making a difference, than being a leader as a CEO at a company, or somebody going down a path that they didn't have help. And so how do we help these students? So number one, we've got to do it through information and data. Second, when you think about the infrastructure and the experience that you have on campus, it's got to be the same campus capabilities in the same way that they have at home, meaning the experience that they have with a $19 a month, cable and an iPhone. They've got to be able to do that. You can't go into a university and not have the same experience, a 360 experience. How do you make their world relevant? And then third is, how do you get them ready to walk out so that they can be a partner and they can come into companies like Xerox and make a difference? And so your curriculums, the way you teach, everything you need to do makes them be prepared for leadership roles, needs to make them prepare into the world in which they're moving. And so the way in which we work together is, how do I help you build those curriculums? How do I help you build that infrastructure that allows you to have that consumer experience? You know, nothing more frustrating than a student that walks on campus and they can only connect with one device, or they can't connect at all, or they can't get access to the things that makes their world relevant. Frustrating, right? And so how do we help you build your infrastructure? And the last, think about the administrative processes that you have today. How long does it take to sign up for Netflix? Like this. How long does it take to sign up for, you pick your consumer app of choice, and then they come into our universities, and it takes weeks, months. The administration process, the process for financial aid, you pick your process of choice. How do we get that where they have the same consumer experience, right? And then last and foremost, how do they know that we care? How do they know that we care? Because you know what? When our students are on campus and they know that we care, and I do mean we, Xerox and the universities, we care about them, that's a big difference than any other university, any other experience they get. So that's what I would recommend, right? How do we modernize our infrastructure so we get a consumer experience? How do we market to them as individuals of one and put the technology in place? How do we partner so we create curriculum so when they come out, they can move and they can help corporations like Xerox? My biggest challenge is, how do I find more talent?
Yep.
Your biggest challenge is, how do you find more jobs? That sounds like a partnership opportunity. We need to go figure it out.
I'm going to, Dr. Gibbs, come to you next. So Dr. Gibbs, one of the things the question we're trying to answer is how to build a successful partnership. It's real easy.
Yes, you might have heard a few months ago, Senator Alsop just announced the David Satcher Cybersecurity Grant Program. And if you were at that announcement at Morehouse College, where I and the other AUC presidents spoke, he recognized 3 times the work that we're doing at the Propel Center in building an online virtual curriculum program centered around cybersecurity to increase the access to not 1, not 2, not 3 HBCUs, but the entire ecosystem. So at Propel Center, we look for partnerships like Xerox so that we can support all 100 plus HBCUs and not just the top 5.
Let me now be a bit more provocative with Dr. Ken Harris. He's used to this line of conversation. So Ken, one of my companies is called the Promise Homes Company. Since I owned it, I could decide where the contracts went. 55% of all the number of our contracts for plumbing, heating, electrical, landscaping, roofing, and painting go to Black and women-owned businesses over the last few years because I'm the primary shareholder. They still do good work. They have to do good work, but I can direct that in ways that if I wasn't a shareholder, I don't think that would happen otherwise. Are you suggesting that HBCUs should be thinking, in a similar way, or am I wrong-headed, or are you, when you say the supply chain for HBCUs into communities, what exactly do you mean by it? I know you're a thought leader in this area.
Well, one thing I do mean, and let's thank John for being here because Tommy called. Because you got one of the best in the game representing today. And thank you, John, for all you do. And most importantly, Tommy Dorch, man, we love you, brother. And I can't imagine, your schedule is more intense than mine. And you get it done, and we can measure it. And I want to thank you so much for your mentorship and support of the National Business League. And with that being said, I'll just say this. As a proud CAU grad, we say find a way or make one, period. And so, in that concept, Booker T. Washington had it right. His message 122 years ago, John, is more relevant today than it was 122 years ago. And what I mean by that is he said, great to have political success, social success, educational success, but economics and entrepreneurship should be at the core of every single aspect and chosen endeavor in life. And we find ourselves now with HBCUs as living as Black people as a lived experience, now returning back to understanding that economics has to be at the core. And so with that, John, based on your scenario in place, that other question you asked, HBCUs are in a prime position for the future. Why? Number one, they should be the core incubators for entrepreneurial success for the next generation, because if you go in a classroom today with K through 12 and you ask the students, what do you want to do when you grow up? 98% of them are going to raise their hand, and then you're going to ask them, do you want to work for someone else or do you want to own your own business? 98% say they want to own their own business, and even if they do work for someone else, they want to have an entrepreneurial mindset in every single thing that they do. So that's the future. And so with that, when I go to an HBCU and I see that there is no entrepreneurial center or entrepreneurial curriculum or entrepreneurial faculty and staff, then that shows me we're not in touch with the future. And then that connects to the supply chain. Every single HBCU spends a ton of money. And with that, I know fam, you was in the house, I just saw the president, you spent a lot of money, brother. You're a great example of having an ecosystem that supports local Black businesses, because we do exactly what John owns. We have carpenters, we have people who landscape, we have professional services, we have IT, and there are capable Black businesses. If they're not in your neighborhood, we have a database all across the country where we can create our own internal ecosystems, because the cavalry ain't coming, folks. It's on us. And so with that, either we own our own or we continue to be owned by somebody else. And when we own our own, let's partner with someone else who owns their own, like Xerox, and we can come together and create entrepreneurial dreams. And so with that, those two scenarios, and this is a mindset. This generation our grandparents taught us to go to college to get a job. What we're teaching our kids now is to go to college to create a job for yourself. And so with that, in those three scenarios, HBCUs can be in the forefront of entrepreneurial excellence, entrepreneurial training, and creating ecosystems that support local Black businesses in the community, so that we can circulate that $1.7 trillion that goes out of our hands to somebody else. We'll start there.
Amen. Essentially, Essentially, Dr. Harris is saying if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. Thanks for the charity, man. Dr. Harris, I have a challenge for you. Think about whether we could, as a result of today, what you've said, which I agree with, maybe we can work together to create a minority vendor program with a database of minority vendors in the cities where we have HBCUs, that we can make it easy for the HBCUs to hire these vendors through the business league. I'll help you do it. I'll put up some capital to help do it. And to help to create this PhD to PhD pipeline of contracting opportunities and wealth creating opportunities and job living wage opportunities in our communities from the money they're, as you said, are already spending.
No question. And John, one, I appreciate your partnership, and we have the database. So all we just have to do is get together. Okay?
You guys like
so
this
we
idea?
have 120,000 black businesses, and it's nothing for us. We just invested $1.3 million into a supply chain database that measures the public and private sector, tracks major Fortune 500 companies, and it can track our own community. So HBCUs, we can come together. Tommy Dortch has already put this model together. The three of us, let's get together with the presidents and make it happen so we can create wealth in our communities. And more importantly with that, the fastest growing segment for entrepreneurial, we got 3.2 million black businesses in this country. We're growing 3 times the national rate. But we know that 98%, John, you know this, of black businesses are home-based business owners, solo entrepreneurs, or people on a job with a side hustle. That is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. That means the entrepreneurial spirit is there. We just need to come put development in our toolkit to help those companies build capacity, scope, and scale. Because if we can help local companies hire 2, 3, or 4 more people, then we just quadruple our local economy. So it's simple math, if that makes any sense. So I won't belabor the conversation, but based on economics, this is not a difficult program that we need to run. And we got everything we need in our community to get it done with us first, then partner on the outside.
So this is being taped. I hope, yes, hold us accountable. This time next year, when we come back here, this has to be in place, yes? Hold us accountable, including me. All right, let's drop the mic with Matthew. By the way, there's questions now coming up in 3 minutes for you. Matthew, it all culminates with you, because I said the Business Roundtable is the epicenter for the key asset, the royalty of this country is the business community. What do you take from this conversation, and I guess one of your members, and how does this codify in why you're here on behalf of the Business Roundtable interfacing with HBCUs?
John, thank you for that question. I take it back. I take it back to the CEOs and let them know what was discussed today. I think what makes the Business Roundtable unique is that, unlike other organizations, the message goes directly to the Chief Executive Officer. And they're problem solvers. They want to solve problems. They don't just want to hear about them. I mean, we have one on the panel today. He doesn't want to hear about problems, he wants to solve them. That's right. And so, what my message would be is, number one, there's a bargain for exchange here. HBCUs are incubators of talent.
You say a bargain for exchange?
A bargain for exchange. Okay. So both sides are getting something out of this arrangement. The CEOs want the best employees possible. That's what they want to make sure that their companies are competitive. And HBCUs want to place those students in the best job they get for those students. And so that's the message that I bring back. Our partnership now that we have with Thurgood Marshall College Fund is just one step in the right direction to make sure that HBCU students have foot in corporate America. You often hear, we can't find enough black talent. That really makes me angry when I hear that. I don't know who it was, some bank robber said, why you rob banks? He said, because, that's where the money is. And so my suggestion to the CEOs of the Business Roundtable, why do we need to go to HBCUs? Well, that's where the black people are. That's right. That's where they are. We want minority talent. We get rid of the excuses. We can say we can't find them. There are great institutions that are HBCUs. I went to Morgan State University, so I think I speak for myself. I got great education there. So the part of that partnership is to make sure that we have a pathway to that first job. And so TMCF is a great partner because they track that. Let's talk about data. Data is so important. CEOs want to know, how many students do we have? Are these students doing well? Are they staying? Are they providing value? You know, we're a small organization. TMCF provides that data to show that this is working. Over time, it's growing. And so when a new company joins BRT, we say, hey, one way for you to increase your diversity and inclusion in your company is to work with this program, this organization, TMCF, to bring in students. So it's been a very productive partnership. We're growing it. We don't want it to be limited to Thurgood Marshall College Fund, but you know, they have the infrastructure in place to really help us help our CEOs. I'll pause there. I have questions and answers coming, but what I will do is take it back. Take the information back. We have our quarterly meeting coming up. I don't know. So it's a big meeting where all the CEOs get together. These topics are discussed there. You know, and this is one of the things I'm sure we'll discuss. So I'll pause there.
So we have a question. One, please, you'll be first. Please, if anybody else, raise your hand. I will acknowledge you. Two, let me say this. I started out by saying this is a moment in history. Let me end and see if this resonates. I said we started with civil rights, now we're going to civil rights, from the streets to the suites.
That's right.
It has been for 40 years. We have representatives where there are problems. You have a problem with racism, police brutality, or whatever the issue is. There's some place for you to call. Yes or no? I'm sorry, I'm talking to us. Yes? Yes. NAACP, National Urban League. I mean, I just saw Dr. Ben Crump, Attorney Ben Crump in the lobby, the new Johnny Cochran. There's people to call if there's a problem. But we need to go from a bad place to call to a good place to call. We need to be able to go call people in the suites, at Xerox, at the Business Roundtable, at these places where contracts are let and wealth is created and job decisions are made. That is the new movement, and that is why everybody in here and everybody you know, before this guy leaves, you need to get his business card. Because this might be one of the most important calls you ever make when you're trying to scale an idea that does well and good at the same time. Question?
So I want to get the reaction from a policy table on what we ought to be doing in the curriculum to get corporations out of the business of education.
I think two things. One, stop teaching yesterday's curriculum.
Whoa, say it again. Steve Eden got religion. So hold on. This whole thing was woke up. Wait a minute. He forgot he was CEO of Xerox and just spoke. Say that one more time.
It's myself, those on Park Queen Streets. But we got to stop teaching yesterday.
Yeah.
Stop teaching. Start teaching tomorrow. I don't want to train. I don't want to have a university inside of Xerox. I want students that are ready. I want students that are ready in technology. I want students that are financially literate.
Yep.
Okay? When are we going to start teaching our students how to build wealth?
Yep.
And I mean serious about how to teach students about how to do that.
Yep.
All right? So I want to partner and I want this group to teach tomorrow's curriculum, teach tomorrow's skills, and tomorrow's financial acumen. And you don't have to worry, you'll be a magnet. But we're not doing it today. Right? It's not because our students aren't capable, it's not because our students don't want it. We're just teaching them yesterday's curriculums. We're more than happy to talk. You asked me, by the way, why am I here? Young man came down to Atlanta, said, I need you. I'm here. Okay? But I'm here to solve a problem.
That's right.
Now listen.
Not talk about it. That's
Okay.
right. He wants a problem that has a beginning, a middle, and an end attached to it. God bless you. That was the quote of the day.
Yeah.
That was the quote of the day. Stop teaching yesterday's curriculum for jobs that no longer exist. Boom. Okay, last question.
But I agree with you, Steve, about today's curriculum. And I wish more board members were here because we approve those curriculums. We approve the policies. So we have now program project management at Alabama State University, drone technology.
Really?
These are things that we're looking for in business today, right? How do you operate a project? Those kind of deals. So I echo your comments, and I just hope that we invite more board members to these type of conversations because we're partners. We're not the board here and the president's here. We got to be in partnership
Amen.
together.
So you're talking about the board members for the HBCUs. Tommy, you hear that?
You're right, because boards set policy, and then we got to train board too, to get out of the weeds.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
one of the things I do for a lot of the boards I'm on, is that we set policy to hold folks accountable. Every board meeting, Dr. Robinson reports success on inclusion of African American and other minority-owned businesses in the process. And we require, again, that we want to know where things are. So that, even in spite of state laws, as we have in some, there's a will and there's a way.
Yeah.
You can either put it in that it's mandatory where states allow it, or you can say we have goals and say to corporations, if you work with us, and we had corporations that come and we want to do 25, they come at 35%. But you gotta let them know we're in a partnership, not if you don't do it, because many of them know, well, state law, I get around it. So you're right, but one of the things, and we'll add a component on board training, because some boards want to be presidents.
Exactly.
And folks should need to get out of the way. That's me, because everybody knows every board I'm on. I tell them up front, I got 6 businesses, I got my own job, you know, all smart people don't earn PhDs, they hire some phenomenal PhDs and these presidents, and let them do their job, and we need to get out of the way.
And on that point, Tommy just dropped the mic.